This is a satellite image of the port of Beirut, Lebanon, captured on July 31st, 2020. But just 4 days later, something would happen here that would leave the port looking like this. Hangars completely obliterated, and right where they once stood, a crater 135 meters wide, as large as two Boeing 747s laid end to end, instantly swallowed by the sea. So what exactly happened here, and how did it give birth to the largest non-nuclear explosion in recorded human history? On August 4th, 2020, a video clip went viral. A bride named Isra Sablani was posing for her wedding photo shoot at Beirut's Saifi Square, laughing, radiant, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Then, without warning, a shockwave hit, and everyone ran. 23 minutes before that moment, at exactly 5:45 p.m., a small crew of welders were working inside Hangar 12 at the port, patching a hole in the wall. Sparks flew, and within moments, a fire broke out inside the warehouse. Hangar 12 sat right at the edge of the sea. By 5:55 p.m., just 10 minutes later, a team of 9 firefighters and a paramedic unit arrived on scene. After assessing the blaze, their fire chief got a radio call that sent a chill down his spine. Something doesn't feel right. The fire is out of control, and there are strange sounds coming from inside. They had been on scene for just 12 minutes when, at 6:07 p.m., the first explosion hit. Footage from the scene shows white smoke and the unmistakable flashes of fireworks detonating. A consignment of fireworks had been stored inside Hangar 12, and the fire had reached them. That first blast was recorded at the equivalent of 1,500 kilograms of TNT. People were still trying to figure out what had happened, phones up, cameras rolling, when just 30 seconds later, the world changed. The second explosion was captured on dozens of cameras across the city, because half of Beirut was already filming after the first blast. A massive fireball tore into the sky. A shockwave faster than the speed of sound ripped through the city in every direction, and then witnesses saw something almost supernatural. A white dome slowly expanding outward, swallowing entire city blocks. This was a vapor cloud, water in the air condensed by the sheer pressure of the shockwave. Behind it rose a massive column of deep red smoke. Experts would later confirm that red smoke was the signature of one chemical, ammonium nitrate. The scale of destruction was almost impossible to comprehend. 200 kilometers away in Cyprus, people fled their homes in panic. The shockwave shattered windows at Beirut's airport. 8 kilometers away, steel rebar was ripped clean out of nearby buildings. The U.S. Geological Survey recorded a 3.3 magnitude earthquake. Scientists at the University of Sheffield estimated the blast was equivalent to 1.5 million kilograms of TNT, 1,000 times more powerful than the first explosion, and roughly 10% of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. A 390-foot luxury cruise ship was lifted out of the water by the force and slammed back down, capsized, and the explosion was so powerful it disturbed Earth's ionosphere, the outermost layer of the atmosphere, bordering space itself, briefly disrupting GPS and radio signals across the region. The city of Beirut looked like a war zone. Entire buildings in northern Beirut had collapsed to the ground. Trees uprooted, cars overturned, steel girders twisted like wire. The entire city's power grid went dark, making rescue operations nearly impossible. Military bulldozers had to clear roads just so emergency workers could get through. 218 people were killed, over 7,000 were wounded, and in the blink of an eye, 12% of Beirut's entire population was left homeless. The hospitals that should have been treating the wounded had been hit by the blast themselves. Doctors and nurses moved patients to parking lots and sidewalks. St. George Hospital, just meters from the port, was devastated, yet its staff continued treating patients on broken pavement outside. Thousands of the wounded had to be turned away because even the sidewalks ran out of space. The fire burned for 7 hours. Black smoke hung over the city until the next day. The smell of sulfur and burning rubber lingered in the air for days. Within days, protests erupted across all of Lebanon. People poured into the streets, furious, grieving, demanding answers, and they all had the same question. How did 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate end up stored next to a city of millions with zero safety measures? Reports revealed that Hangar 12 had already been a disaster waiting to happen. It was being used to store oil cans, kerosene, hydrochloric acid, and 15 tons of fireworks, all in a warehouse with faulty wiring, no smoke alarm, and no sprinkler system. But hidden among all of that was something far more catastrophic. 2,750 metric tons of ammonium nitrate, a chemical used as agricultural fertilizer and industrial explosive, sitting in plastic bags with no proper safety measures for 7 years. This chemical has been used in some of the deadliest terror attacks in history, and it had been sitting, unsecured, in the heart of one of the Middle East's most populated port cities. The story of how it got there begins in 2013. A Russian cargo ship called the La Rosa was sailing from Georgia to Mozambique when technical problems forced it to dock in Beirut. On board, 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate. The ship never left. The owner, facing financial difficulties, tried to take on additional cargo in Beirut to cover costs, but the extra load was too heavy. The crew refused to sail. The owner then stopped paying salaries and refused to cover port fees. Beirut authorities held the crew on board for 11 months because they had no Lebanese visas and couldn't legally disembark. By 2014, the crew was finally released, but the ship was impounded over unpaid port dues, and its explosive cargo was confiscated and transferred to Hangar 12, where it sat for 6 years, waiting. During those 6 years, port authorities sent repeated warnings to Lebanese government officials. The first email came in 2014. The former customs director wrote urgently to a judge, flagging that storing this chemical at the port was extremely dangerous. No response. Al Jazeera reported that one letter demanded the cargo be immediately re-exported, warning that conditions inside the hangar were unsuitable for storing ammonium nitrate. Another letter suggested the government simply sell the chemical to a Lebanese explosives company just to get it out. The last warning email was sent in 2019. It was ignored. Even as the wall of Hangar 12 developed a hole, increasing the security risk further, the government did nothing. It was the repair of that very hole that caused the sparks that caused the fire that caused the explosion that destroyed Beirut. Today, nearly 5 years later, not a single person has been held accountable. The investigation has been blocked, stalled, and derailed at every turn by political interference, ministerial legal immunity, and conflicts within the judiciary itself. Judge Fadi Sawan charged several high-profile ministers and was removed from the case. Judge Tariq Bitar reopened the investigation and faced fierce opposition from Hezbollah and Amal, who filed court orders to freeze proceedings. From 2022 to 2024, the investigation was completely halted. In January 2025, with the appointment of new Prime Minister Nawaf Salam and the shifting political landscape following the Israel-Hezbollah conflict, the case was reopened. And in May 2025, reports emerged that Judge Tariq Bitar intends to issue his final verdict on August 4, 2025, the 5th anniversary of the explosion. At the blast site today, there stands an 8-foot statue, built from shattered glass, twisted rebar, and the rubble of destroyed homes. It takes the shape of a woman holding a sword, a monument to the 218 souls lost on that day. At her feet lies a clock, frozen at 6:08 p.m., the exact moment the second explosion tore Beirut apart, and it hasn't moved since. If this video moved you, please like and share it. Your support means everything, and we'll see you in the next one.